Almost, it's all yours.
Okay. So thank you, Zaili ji, for having me here. And good evening to all the students. And it's a great pleasure to speak to all of you. If you are listening, some of you, most of you, because the topic that we have is a very basic topic, rationality. When I saw that, that was my first choice from the topics that was sent to me. And I will tell you the reasons this conversation that we will have. I will try to cover the reasons why rationality is an important topic. And the arguments that I'll be providing to you, you all understand the meaning of an argument. I will also try to give you some technical details about what is an argument. And with that frame of reference itself, towards the end, my conclusion that I'll be trying to prove to you, like how all of you write papers and give presentations, etc. All of us, we have a thesis statement, a main point that we want to convey. So the point that I'm trying to convey through this program or this talk is that rationality is important, or what is rationality itself. If it was not so important, we may not be so much talking about it, but I'll give you my reasons why it is, and hopefully towards the end you will see that why studying rationality is important. So I teach philosophy. I've taught logic also. Logic we study in philosophy as a subject because logic is something which is considered part of normative sciences. Okay. Why I'm talking about logic? Because our topic is rationality. Rationality comes from the word ratio. The root is called a ratio. And all of us know what is a ratio. A ratio is like a quotient of two quantity, for example, or a relationship between two quantity, correct? So from ratio comes the word ratiocination. Ratiocination means reasoning. Ratiocination means reasoning. If you check the dictionary, you will come to know. Because in reasoning also, what we do is the quantity that we have, the information that we have, the facts that we have with us, we use those facts, we connect those facts, like how in a mathematical ratio or economic ratio, we keep them over each other and see how they relate to each other, right? That's a ratio, mathematical ratio. So when we bring that same term in general usage, we say it's ratiocination, meaning some kind of reasoning is happening. A rationale is being created with the information. And from that term comes the word rationality, right? So let us first understand the word together. And I would say this is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. I'm not lecturing you, because lectures have a very negative connotation these days, right? If somebody gives us a discourse, we say, don't lecture, Baba. I don't want to hear all that. So this is not that kind of lecture. This is, I'm just sharing my views, and once I'm done with whatever I want to say, we can start interacting, because you being third year economics students, you should already have a good idea what is rationality. Though not technically, but your subject itself has a rationale to it, right? So from ratio to ratiocination to rational to rationality, right? We have come to rationality. Now, what does rationality imply in everyday life? So as I told you, in ratio, we use the quantity available and try to create a information which can come out of those information, right? So when in general life, when we use this term rationality or rationale, so let's understand this from the other side. Let's approach the term from the negative side. An insane person is there. Let's say a person who does anything without context, right? Let's say a person goes to the funeral and starts laughing and singing. You would say this person is an irrational person, right? Why would you say this person is an irrational person? Because this person is not paying attention to the details around him. He's not seeing what is the facts around him. That this is a situation where you mourn. You don't be happy in such a situation. A regular, rational person will mourn at a funeral. So if that person is doing something else, we can see that many Very often people are not serious in situations they ought to be serious. So we say this person is somewhat not okay, this is an irrational person, implying that the information that is given to that person, that information is not processed by that person the way it should have been, and through that processing that person has not reached the correct conclusion that a morning event is an event of being quiet, event of not being glad and jubilant or celebration. It's a event of mourning. This is the conclusion from the event that has happened, which is somebody's death. So the information, the quantities that were available to us as facts, that there is a death, there is a family who's suffering, and from that fact the person has derived a conclusion which is not matching with what the general public is doing. So we say this person is an irrational person, because we all reason in that way, that death is a sad event, correct? So we say irrational. So why are we saying irrational? That the person is not able to use the information given to him or her and derive proper conclusion. Here we get the essence of the topic of rationality, rationale. When we say the person is a rational person, in many of our debates online and with our friends, we usually say that be rational, be logical. Why do we say that? We say that, see, this is the information and you are not seeing the information, you are talking about something else. Why don't you be rational and logical, that derive your conclusions from the information available to us already, right? So as an economic student, information available to you could be that prices are rising, and from that price rise you can connect the laws or the reasons that you have already formulated, that rise in price lead to inflation or something, whatever. I am not economics, you guys know better those laws. So you can conclude that there is something happening economically, that's why prices are rising. So reasons you already know. Person who doesn't understand this connection is maybe not rationally fit in economics, right? So some part of his rationality is not matching up to your rationality, because you guys are trained in economics, like how I am trained in philosophy. So I can reason better in philosophical matters. A physician can reason better in biological matters. A scientist can reason much better in physical matters, depending on which science he's doing, if he's doing archaeology, geology, sociology, etc. So I hope you get this idea of what is rationality. First of all, what are we talking about? We should not use the term differently. All of us can know the term dog, right? But our references of what a dog is different for all of us. Somebody may be talking about a stray dog, somebody may be talking about a Labrador, somebody may be talking about an Alsatian, somebody may be talking about German Shepherd, Pug, etc., and what have you, all the dogs. So when we are talking about dogs, just because the word is same, it doesn't mean that our experiences match. Our experiences are very different from each other. Words should not, and we should not understand that, we should not think that just because we use same words we are talking about the same thing. No. So when I am talking about rationality, as I explained to you, that how this rationality works, what is being given to us, and how we derive further information which is accurate considering the facts available to us. You get my point? Person who does not derive this information properly, we have institutions for such persons who are totally deriving in contextual, out of context information. Such people are called insane people. We have asylums for them, that they would say, I won't accept social issues, I will hit anyone at will, I will break signals at will, etc., etc. So he is not understanding, or she is not understanding the rationality that the whole society is following. That if you break the signal, you may end up hitting someone. That person could be from my family. Or if you steal taxes, then that will affect somebody's life. And there are so many social issues we can talk about. So such a person can prove destructive. They may have some benefit momentarily, but irrational behavior, irrational person can it can be very dangerous for the society. So rationality, this way, if we define, how I see it, that it is very important in two contexts. First context is my personal context, subjective context. Subjective in the sense, not my personal, all of us together. Everyone has to find out how rational or irrational they are, because they will be the one who will approach the society. You will be the one who will uh, be in the society and go to different places and take different decisions, important decisions. Especially now, your economic students, your decisions matter a lot. It will affect the economy, it will affect your personal life. So you have to first find out how rational you are. Then in the context of society also, why rationality is important, I will tell you little bit information about it. So, if you heard of this person's name called John Dewey, John Dewey was an American philosopher. He was also called a pragmatist. Pragmatism is a philosophy, American philosophy, also called instrumentalism. Whatever works, Vyavharvad in Hindi or Sanskrit, if we have to say Vyavharvad. Okay, whatever works in Vyavhara is rational. So I'm just quoting him. The enjoyment of the doubtful is a mark of the educated mind. The enjoyment of the doubtful is the mark of an educated mind. So, why I'm saying this is that even if you have studied hundreds of books, even if you have by hearted, as students, you would have all seen many teachers make us by heart things. This doesn't imply that you know the subject. Unless you reason the subject, unless you become rational about the subject, see the subject in your everyday life, see how economics is working, see how your decisions about paying more or less about certain products can affect your financial situation. Till that point of time, the information is not useful, isn't it? It's just by hearted basic information. So similarly, see, if we go to a library and let's say there are 100 books in the library, and the librarian has just thrown all the books in one corner, and you ask where is the economic section, he shows you, see, all the books are there, go and search. Because the books have not been arranged in a rationale, it has not been classified, organized in certain sections, that this is economics, this is philosophy, this is not philosophy, this is science, this is sociology, this is biology. That rationale is not there, then how much time you have to spend in every book? Just think. You have to first remove them, organize them, then you can find out what you are looking for. So there is no rationale in the library, you will say, and nobody will go to a library. That person cannot become a librarian if he cannot apply a rationale. So if you see the books in our library, there are so many codes, almost 8 letters are there. One code is there. Then in which subcategory it comes, because economics has many sections, philosophy has hundreds of sections. So even subcategories are there, sub rationales are there, then numbers are there. So all this forms part of a rationale. Now we have to talk about two more things here. One is information, another is knowledge. So in the instance of a library, books are all information. Like how online internet is a wealth of information, a sea of information, correct? But you only are the person who can use rationale to distill that information, which is not same as becoming intelligent, becoming wise. Getting information is not becoming wise. How to use that information and finding the accurate information also is part of becoming wise now. Like a computer knows all our books, but is the computer wise? Definitely not, because it does not have a rationale. Rationality it does not have. If you see AI now, artificial intelligence is what? Computer trying to become rational. We are trying to formulate a code which can make the computer rational, give it rationality, because Our consciousness is something, our awareness is something, our presence of mind, as we say, in the truth, in reality at this moment, is something which a computer does not have. It has more information than us, much, much more information. But still, it does not know how to apply that information. It cannot understand what is relationship unless we give it some code, like how you guys have found now codes in economics. So you can feed those codes, arrange these numbers like this in this ratios, and then you can derive some rational information from that, depending on your context. So knowledge and wisdom, knowledge, information and knowledge are not the same thing. Information is different. When we apply rational to it, then it becomes knowledge. Same in Indian context, we use two terms for this. One is called jnana is there, but then jnana can only be gotten by buddhi, intellect. Our intellect is the instrument of this rationality that we are talking about. How do we separate information from knowledge? Is with this instrument, that rationality that we all possess as human beings. So I can't teach you rationality. That is inbuilt in all of you. If a person is, let's say, there is some brain problem somewhere, then even if I tell him the best of logic and reasoning, he or she cannot understand what I'm saying, because the capacity, that buddhi, is missing. Separating right and wrong is missing. Right and wrong, not in ethical terms, but in general terms, I'm saying, right? Because right and wrong are ethical terms in philosophy, very complicated terms. Anyway, so we all have capacities. This is the first thing we all should realize, that we all are rational in some way. Just what we are doing now is, I'm just exposing those structures of rationality in front of you, so that you guys can better understand it. You know that in now there was summer season, right? All of us went and bought mangoes, probably Alfonso mangoes, the best Alfonso mangoes we searched in Pune, right? That it should come. Now everyone was delivering at home. So how do you reach to the conclusion or find out who is the best Alfonso mango seller in the city? So how do you apply your rationale? First, you gather information. And information also, you should be able to gather true information. If somebody is misleading you with the information, your conclusion will be wrong. Somebody told you 1% dealer is better. You bought mangoes, and once the mangoes came, you saw that mangoes are not good. So how do you remove these problems? So you ask first your friend, most trustable friend, that tell me which is the best dealer of mango. Have you bought? Somebody said, yeah, I bought it from here, this person. Okay, you note it down, that first you came to know this is a good mango dealer and my friend told me. Next, you check with more friends, with your family. Maybe you check online reviews now, right? So many reviews are available. So with that, you gather information, and finally you reach the conclusion. Somebody will dole out that conclusion on you. Every shop wala doles out a conclusion on you. See how rationality is important in everyday life. Morning, the moment you open your eyes, your intellect will begin. Whether I should get up from the bed or not. Is this the right time, or I'm too early? Should I sleep more? Am I feeling little more sleepy, or 5 more minutes? Your mom has a different rationale. She knows you are already late, but your rationale will work differently. So moment we get up, now first I should brush or have my breakfast. Now you apply your rationale depending on who are the people around you. If somebody is nagging, then you brush the teeth first, let's say. Whether I should have coffee first or whether I should eat first. Everywhere there is rationality. You go to the mobile phone shop, or you go to the mango shop, mango wallas will always give you a conclusion. This is the best in town, best in the world, right? Mobile phone wala will say this is the best phone in the world. But you have to decide. Use your rationality to decide whether it is the right way or the right phone for me or not, depending on your context, your information, your ratios that are available with you. You have to use your ratiocination and reach a conclusion. People always dole out conclusions on us depending on their context. But rationality implies using my own capacities. And when we study rationality as a subject, the subject that studies rationality is logic, critical thinking, critical reasoning. Most of your competitive exams, which you will be giving now after your BComs, all of them will test you for critical reasoning abilities. If a person is not, critical reasoning is not okay in the person, then that person can't take good decision even with the wealth of information. So I'm remembering a very interesting anecdote here. So I'll share with you. What happens is one person goes for an interview, and the interviewer asks that person that what are your strengths, why should we employ you. So the person says that, I'm a hard worker, I work very hard, I'm an innovative person, I'm a creative person, I'm a passionate person, and such things, by hearted things. We know what we have to say in the interview, all the good things we have to tell in the interview. Always remember, never mention anything negative. So he does that in the interview. Interviewer becomes very happy. Oh, you have so many strengths, great. So interviewer asks that person that what are your weaknesses. So the person who went for the interview, let's say I went for the interview, so I tell the interviewer that, my judgment is somewhat not accurate many times, right? This is the answer I give to the interviewer. Now interviewer hearing these answers become very serious. He says, this with this problem we won't be able to employ you. We were thinking to employ you because you had so many uh, good qualities, you had so many merits, but this one demerit of bad judgment, we have to reject you as a candidate. Now I being the one who has given this answer, I'm surprised that why I should be let out just for this bad judgment uh, demerit that I have told. The quality that I have, that I make, sometimes I make bad judgments. So interviewer informs me that, as you said, you are a creative person. So if you have a bad judgment, you will use all that creativity to incur losses rather than profits. If you are a hardworking person and you don't judge where you have to put your hard work, then you will use all that hard work to pull down the company, right? You are an innovative person, so he says that you will find innovative ways to incur losses for us if you don't judge what we are and who the customer is. So he says that this making bad judgments imply bad reasoning, bad rationality. You can only reach a judgment whether you should buy a mango from certain person or which phone you should buy only by reasoning, only by judging. Judgment is only based on the information you have. If you are a bad judge, then doesn't matter, you can work hundreds of hours, you can slog yourself off, but you won't be putting that energy in the right direction. So interviewer is a much reasonable person. I asked the interviewer that what should I do? I have so many qualities. You are rejecting me for this one mistake. So interviewer says, see, across the road we have our competitor. Please go and apply there. You understand? So that is a reasonable person who knows how to use the right judgment. Where to send a person like me who has bad judgment? So go to our competitor. You will do much better for us there. So reasoning capacities are so important in life. Even in your relationships, if you see, we always trying to convince each other of something. You like me, you don't like me, you did this, you did that. We are always offering reasons to each other why I am what I say. The other person will always say something else because they see something else. But you try to give them reasons that why didn't you come to meet me yesterday? You say I was in the class at 4 o'clock. So let's say your partner doesn't believe you. You will say, no, 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 please, you go and check. I can get mail from professor who was taking the class. I can get mail from my college. So all this is reasoning ability to make your partner conclude, judge that you are not untrue. You are not saying something which is false. And then we come to this idea of truth and falsity, which is very important. Truth in general, everyday life, what we understand by truth is something which is the case. Is it correct? No, something what is the case in life, we say this is the truth. A person who says how things happen is a truthful person. But in logic, Logic, we analyze this concept of truth, because see, in rationality we have to reach true conclusions. True judgments are important, because you can also reach false judgment. Even though you are logical, but if your information is false, your conclusion will be false. So we have to make sure that the conclusions or rationality is a form, logic is a form, content is given by the world, by the experiences that we go through. Just see this, how interesting this is. Rationality is a structure, huh? And content of that structure is given by the world. Mathematics is a structure. You say there are 10 mobile phones in my house. You say there are 10 dogs at my house. So you can write in numbers that 10 dogs, in front of dogs you can write 10. That 10 is a number, it's only a form of all these things that you have. The content is dogs, which is in front of you, like how mobile phones are content, mangoes are content, etc. But reasoning, rationality is a structure, it's a form that we give to the information that we have. Similarly, rationality is a structure. Where you use that rationality will decide what kind of judgment, what information you apply. In economics, of course, all our knowledge forms, whatever you study, is a kind of rationale. The language that I'm talking right now is English. There is a possibility that I may know Greek. If I talk in Greek, nobody will understand. Why not? Because you don't know the logic of that language. You don't know the rationale of that language, how to understand how words are formed. Even in while speaking English, if I change the position of the words, I don't follow the rationale of the language, you won't understand a single word. So rationale is so important. Everything that you do, every decision that you take, which college to go, which exams to give, what you write in the exams, with whom you should interact, everything is based on rationality. So this is all in context of your personal contemplations. You all should realize first that how important is being rational, right? So why I am saying all this? Because especially in context of today's world, when information is on our fingertips, literally information is on our fingertips, and world is so vast. See, there is so much sea of information. Any topic you see online, you will find both the sides, and it will be so difficult for you to decide. So we being students, we being learners, students being one who's learning, so it's on us now how to separate this information. Earlier, teachers will give you information through libraries and whatever resources they have. Now resources are so open, everyone can learn anything they want. So when such a situation arises, then your personal rationality becomes of utmost important. There is nothing more important than that, because you have to, on social media now, information is not controlled, and even when it's controlled, it can misguide you. So it depends on your rationale, your understanding of how true you are, how correct your information is, how much you have researched. So this is a problem of fake information won't arise if we are rational enough. Nobody can affect us with that fake information. And in today's world, it's of utmost important, as I'm saying, because we have to use our buddhi, use our intellect to separate water from milk, as they say, from fake information from correct, true information. Because you would have seen with elders, many of our elders fall in this trap that anything they read on WhatsApp, let's say, or anywhere, anything is written, that written word has a authority. They think this is true just because it's written, because it's actually correct to some extent, but because it's correct, people have misused it, that anything you write, because it's fixed. Talking is different, writing is different. So once you write it, you have fixed it, and somebody who's reading it, who's not so aware of the fake information circle, they will say this is true. So you have to be reasonable that no, anything written down may not necessarily be true, and especially now in the age of social media, you have to first doubt it rather than accept it, that this could be definitely be false, unless proofs are given to me, references are given to me. And that's what we as academicians have to do. Anything we write, anything you will write on economics, you have to provide your references. If you don't provide references, then either you are plagiarizing or what you are writing is not okay. It's not logical. It does not have a rationale. So any paper, if you are writing, if you do not have a rationale, then you will write the conclusion first, introduction in between. Anything you will write, you'll write about music, like how students write song to increase the length of their papers. So all that you will do. So teacher who has rationale will find out. Teacher who is also not interested, they will forget, and your rationale will work there. But in an academic setting, we have to give references. We have to say what we have copied and what we have not copied, what we have known from somebody, what we have not known from somebody. That implies that you have studied the subject. Otherwise, information wise, we can collect information in the form of a book and get a PhD also, but doesn't mean you understand the content that you have written in the PhD thesis, right? Our India now, especially, it's become a big problem. Uh, Professor Shelley will know that now they are putting all the theses through plagiarizing softwares to check how much content is copied and how much is not. It's a very serious problem. Nothing to be ashamed of. We are students and we are academicians. We have to talk about this so that we write things which are, which has substance, which has originality, innovation, reality. So in personal life, these are some things which are very important. And the purpose of education itself is to make the student questioning. The student should start learning. Content is, of course, there, information is available, but you have to find out the logic of that content, the rationale of that content, any content that you come across as a student. So the attitude of learning itself implies a kind of rationality. And you see scientists, you can see lawyers, you can see doctors, you can see linguists, any and every person you can think of, all use rationality. Lawyers, to see in the court, what are they doing? They are giving reasons to the judge that my candidate is not guilty. That's what they are doing. The best reasons they give, the best rationale they give, the judge will have to accept that rationality. He can't reject the rationale. He or she, whoever the judge is. Similarly, you go to the doctor, you tell the doctor symptoms, you give him fact, premises. That these are my premises. See, I have a headache, I have a congested chest, etc. In current situation, the best rationale of such symptom is that you have COVID. We all know this rationale as an information. Everybody has been given this information that, see, if these symptoms are there, conclude that you may have COVID. This is the buddhi, this is the logic. Still, many people don't conclude, who are afraid. So, see, very interesting. What is the opposite of rationality now? Rationality, I have explained to you that information is given to you and you try to get the true information out of that, better information. I'll give you a form of this rationality also, you will understand better. Let's say, if I say that all students of TY from Gokhale are in this class, right? This is my first premise, first fact I've given. All students of TYBA are in this class. No, I will say that, yeah, all students of TYBA are present in this class. And what is that second premise? Anyways, I will take some other one. I'm forgetting that. I'm sorry. All men are mortal. This is our classic example. All men are mortal. This is the first premise. And let's say somebody says that Almozo is a man. These two information are given to me. So from these two premises, I can derive a third information, which is Almozo is also mortal. Because all men also include Almozo, and somebody told me that Almozo is also a man, or Almozo is a woman, whatever that be. So we can conclude, which is not given in the premises. So in rationality, we do all this, go rationally, use information which is hidden in the premises. Let's say the shopwala has a hidden intention of selling you bad stuff. So you have to find out from what he's saying or she's saying and understand that what is the conclusion of this, whether this product is right or not. Now, what is the opposite of rationality here? What other instruments we use other than reasoning to judge things? So one is very importantly is emotion. Our emotions, if somebody appeals to our emotions, then we quickly buy that. Like how Apple and many people, many companies appeal to our emotions, that this is something which is which only few people can get. If you would have seen that ad of some pan masala, what is that, uche log uchi pasand, that only ucha. So if you are eating, then you become ucha, appealing to emotions of people, exploiting the emotions of people. And so every brand tries to do that, because see, advertisement has now, they put the most money in advertisement, because you may have the best of product or you may have the worst of product. If you advertise it correctly, it will sell. Like how you cannot get an Amul chas in small villages, but you can find a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi in small villages, right? Which is healthier, you tell? Coca-Cola is sugar, cola, but still it's available. And for money, something which harms you is available for good money. You see, the advertisement, marketing, that exploits this emotional part, the parts which are not necessarily rational in us. So that can be exploited because we won't be thinking in that time, right? So similarly, hunches are one more thing which can affect our rationales. That you have a habit of having getting, believing that I have good hunches about things. So you decide on that. Okay, I should buy this phone. I have a very good hunch. Okay, buy. But that has no reasons behind it. There is no reason that phone can come out good or not. It's only chance. It's only possibility and probability. Similarly, some people believe in intuition. Some people think that they have great intuitive capacities. What they see in dreams may come true in life. That somebody told me buy this stock. I saw in the dream that buy this stock. I get up and buy that stock quickly. No reason. It can work, it may not work. If it works, good for you. Doesn't work, still good for you. You at least know that you are an unreasonable person. And there could be many things like that, superstitions. But when the decisions are very serious decisions, like we take in life as students, which colleges to go, which subjects to teach, which subjects to learn, which teachers to approach, what to say, etc., then you can't use intuition and emotions and etc. You have to be a reasonable person, a rational person, right? You have to have weigh your information, who that professor is, what that professor teaches. If you come to me and talk to me about quantum physics, I will say the student is, I don't know what. But there is no rationale of this approach. If you come to me and talk about philosophy, I know that you have done some background check. You can't say, no, I saw in the dream that you should educate me on quantum physics, or I am emotionally, I want to learn quantum physics. It's all irrational, childish. Kids are like that, they do things out of context. So we say they are innocent. We don't say they are intelligent. We say they are cute. So irrationality can have that effect. So be careful about this. Emotions are very strong. They can affect your decision. That's how we are manipulated constantly to change our rationale, make us, create one image on us, so that we, like, familiarity is a kind of emotion, that brands exploit these days. Show us the same symbol, show us the same name again and again and again through advertising, and we become familiar because we are familiar with our family. Whatever we are familiar with, we say they are family. So emotions can be exploited. So rationality is very important in that sense also. So nothing is more useful, other than the capacity of good reasoning, accurate reasoning. All students, all of us, and it's a basic subject. See, there is no other subject which is as basic as logic. I even asked this to a mathematics professor from COEP college. She had come to talk on mathematical logic. So I asked her which is more basic, because mathematics is considered one of the most basic. It's not a science, mathematics. Mathematics is a language, it's a normative science. We have decided the norms and rules of it. We don't find mathematics in the nature. If we say there are 10 dogs, 10 dogs are different and the number 10 is different. Same way, logic is also a normative science. Your economics is a social science. Then we have natural physical science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, hard sciences. which can be experimented and observed. By the way, your subject, economics, is also not a science according to scientists. Yeah, it's somewhat evolving science, because I'm not putting you down, but I'm just telling you theory, because economic factors involve human beings, social behaviors. Wherever social behaviors are involved, minds come into play, human minds. And human minds can't be observed in the same manner physical things can be observed. Correct? No, you can't observe them, because the person can lie also. Person can be in different mood. You may develop a sample from hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people. Still, if you go to other thousand, your sample will vary. Your results will vary. In science, it's not like that. The sun will rise; it will rise like that. If there is a change, you know that there is some other problem. You know that it can be observed again. But in political science and another social science, your science, actually economics, comes most closest to science because it's number based. Political sciences, they're still gray. And what are other sociology, still more grayer. Social behaviors are very, very complicated. Here the problem of individualism and holism come, because uh, individual behavior and holistic behavior, which should be considered primary. That let's say we are all in Gokhale Institute now. So Gokhale Institute affects you more, or as an individual you affect Gokhale Institute more? This is a question social scientists are still struggling with, because we form Gokhale Institute, right? If we are not there, Gokhale Institute is building is not necessarily Gokhale Institute. Building is also Gokhale Institute, but not only building, we are also Gokhale Institute. All the trees, the land, everything, the teachers, the classes also are Gokhale Institute. But without us, it's not there. But it is still beyond us. So social science fall into this philosophical problem. It's a very serious problem. You guys should research. Now I won't go into all that. Individualism and holism, we say. Social scientists are still struggling. Some take the social holistic approach. They consider the institution more important, because depending on how Gokhale is, the student also will change. So Gokhale is affecting you. You are also affecting Gokhale Institute. So there's an interdependence. So by depending on what rationale you take, you can take either the individual primary or the holistic, the social as primary. So that's why we call all these social sciences not necessarily like hard sciences, because observation and experiment, which are two basic criteria of a science, in that sense we are observing, we are experimenting as economists, but we can't be as hard or as clear as the hard sciences, right? And philosophy, though, is still, philosophy is not even social science. Philosophy is also humanities. It is classified, and if you go to the university department, is humanities. It can also be kind of it's not normative, but logic and philosophy are a humanity subject. Humans do it. You can't really classify it in a subject. Philosophy, how will you experiment? Philosophy is all based on reasoning, rational logic, etc. Because we have to deal with questions like God. What kind of observation you will find for a question like God, right? You may find some observation, but it will change from people to people, area to area, culture to culture. So these kinds of problems are. Logic also similarly is a normative science. We behave in a certain manner, and those norms we have identified that these are the rational that we are following. So we say this is a normative science. There's another normative science called aesthetics, study of beauty. Um, Aesthetics is how we identify things as beautiful. Some people may find old people also beautiful. Some people may not find old people beautiful. Some find mountains beautiful. Some even find now abstract art beautiful. So definitions of beauty change from person to person. Normative science, that's why. No fixed rule, not even any observation. Or now art, we are seeing how it's changing. Abstract art is not easy to understand. You have to know all the rationale of that art, then you understand this is art. So logic is something which is in us, and we have to, it's an instrument that we possess as human beings. If we lose that instrument, then we can come very close to animals, right? Animals also are living. They don't have the rationality that we possess. So it's a skill you should hone. You should keep sharpening it constantly, either by playing chess. The games are also there, or by doing mathematical puzzles, crosswords, etc. It sharpens your brain. It tells you how to derive. Chess, particularly, is an example of a very rational game. You have to choose what steps to take now, depending on what conclusion you want in the future. That is, you should win. And because there are so many ways, millions of ways to play, that's why it's very complicated. Not very developed brain cannot necessarily play good chess. Only a developed brain can play chess. Computers also can play chess these days. So this is for your personal thing. Ma'am, how long this can continue? So just let me know.
We have another half an hour. So
Achha, half an hour.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I will quickly complete the second point, which is the larger aspect that I was saying. Then we will go into some question answers maybe, or we'll
Absolutely.
hear from the students. So this was all in context of our personal life. See, what I have done right now is given you an argument. All the reasons I have given you to make you conclude that rationality is important. If my reasons are true, if they fit your life, you will also conclude along with me, like I have concluded, that rationality is basic subject, isn't it? So this is the form of an argument. I've given you an argument. I've created, the whole lecture is an argument. Every class is an argument about certain points. The professor comes with a topic and tries to explain you that why this topic is such and such and such. If the professor is good in explaining, you will accept. If the communication doesn't happen, then you may not accept. So I have given you rationale for your personal issues, in the sense your subjective contemplation, that why individuals should focus on being rational. Now in societal context, now we are living in a democracy. Now all over the world, we know that democracy has become a holy word now, implying that every individual possesses right to govern his or her own life, and even to choose who will govern the polity. So in such a scenario, when individual decisions are very important through the votes that we put, it's very important that we rationally evaluate our leaders. Because as I said, like how companies, businesses can exploit, similarly the person who is in power, because politics is rajniti, power, the game is of power. Somebody has to go in power. They can either go through true means, honest means, or they can go through other means. Who will reach there depends on your rationale, that whatever arguments they have given to you, that I will make your roads, I will provide you electricity, I will cure the problem of crime, I will bring metro, etc., etc. You have to judge them depending on what reasons they have given you to come to power. If we get moved by emotions, which many of us do, that's why politicians exploit these things, no? That because we get moved by emotions, because we get moved by our identity, because we get moved by our preferences, our inclinations. So the whole votes, individual who's an independent individual in a democracy can vote en masse, en bloc. Ideally, every individual has to give his own vote. That one vote counts, not the group. But when groupism comes, then we can get into a problem as a whole, all of us as a democracy. So see how important being rational is in a social life also, in your independent individual life also. Because if you don't take rational decision, you may not be able to reach where you are planning to. Because decisions are important. Emotions will take you only as much far as it can. Depends on your luck. Similarly, in social content, like all of us are meeting now, we have to talk in a context. If I'm irrational, I'll waste your time also, and my time also will get wasted, isn't it? So in our democracy, for our social lives also, and you all are social scientists being economic students, so the decisions and the theories and the studies that you will do, that will have a bigger, much more bigger effect on the society at large. Similarly, engineers also are such people. Our IT engineers are important people. Civil engineers are important people. These people have to be much more rational than regular people. Professors, teachers also have to be much more rational than general public, because we have a responsibility. Our decisions affect much bigger sections of the society. As economists, you have to be very careful that what kind of decisions you take, not only for yourself. Tax, let's say, if you help somebody break tax struggle, then that person may get benefited. But what is the effect of that in the society? That only a rational understanding of polity can give you. Rational understanding of a bigger system, holistic, as I said. Two aspects: individual and holistic. Bigger, the social, larger objective, and the subjective aspect. These two aspects always have to be kept in mind, and then from there we have to move forward. So these are all my arguments for the conclusion that rationality is one of the most basic. There is no, all subjects can grow obsolete, all your economic theories can go obsolete, physics can go obsolete, reasoning capacities you cannot go obsolete. Rationality cannot be out of fashion, because with that only you get everything. So rationality is, that's why the whole this philosophy seminar that we have planned, I thought this should be the first topic, rationality. That's why I thought of speaking on this, because if we are not rational, then whatever follows, if there is no logic, no reasoning in that, we have to begin it at this. No matter who we are, what our beliefs are, but once we all are rational together, then we can understand each other and come to common grounds of talking. And that only our reasons, our backgrounds, our experiences can provide. And once we share that, we all come into the same spot, and from there then we can talk further. So I will conclude with that, and whatever, if there is something someone want to ask me, then I am ready to talk about that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You covered a wide variety of aspects and topics, and that was really great. All right, so the way we have it every time, guys, any questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat box.
Do you think that facts are just popular opinions? See, there is one thing in philosophy. We say that there's a subject called epistemology, right? Episteme means knowledge in Greek, and ology is science, right? Like biology, physiology. So science of knowledge, or more accurately, we define it as theory of knowledge. Theory, how we get knowledge. In Indian context, we give these pramanas. If you study Indian darshanas, Bharatiya darshana, they say pratyaksha, through pratyaksha we get knowledge, through our eyes, through our ears, nose, touch and taste, 5. Then through shabda we get pramana. Shabda meaning our books. In Indian context, Bharatiya context, we say Vedas or our Shastras, etc. Similarly, we have a third category called inference. Inference is anumana. Somewhere you see smoke, and by seeing that smoke, you understand there is fire. You have not seen the fire. So this is the logic that we are talking about. Anumana is reasoning. Something is seen, and from that something else is also known, extra. Inflation is seen, and many other things can be inferred depending on what information you have. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire, So you just see the smoke. So same way, Greek philosophers and Indian philosophers also have discussed what is knowledge. They've said that whatever we know, it is justified true belief. This is one view. There are many other views. I am sharing one. Justified meaning, see, experiment has come, some element of logic and science has come. Justification. True. That point of time it should happen, at least experimentation. And then ultimately it's belief. So as you are saying, facts can be seen in 2 ways. Facts is one that we see physically. That physically is whatever it is, we all can see. But facts as we express it, that there is a rainbow in the sky. So rainbow may be there, all of us can see that rainbow. But the description is that there is refraction, there are 7 colors in the light, white light, and it spreads in a particular way when the droplets are somewhat hung in the sky, etc. And then there's like a rainbow there. So this is a description. This same description, if we have better technology, better experimentation later, I'm not saying this can be falsified. Probably this is basic information. Like Newton's theory, we take as an example. It works still in regular life, but in a bigger universal context, Einsteinian mechanics work. Newtonian mechanics don't work. Newtonian mechanics work in the context of Earth, that there is a equal and opposite reaction. So facts that we are talking about, so we have to understand that actually in reasoning logic, there is one more answer we can give to this question is inductive and deductive reasoning. First, we have to also understand what are we calling as facts. Are we saying they are unchangeable true things which can never change? Do you mean that by facts, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So unchangeable facts, it's not necessary that facts cannot change. Like how Newtonian mechanics, we said everything is matter. We used to believe that. Now we are saying everything is more energy, more space, right? So facts we can only go to a certain extent, because inductive reasoning, like I gave you an example, all men are mortal, Almozo is a man, therefore Almozo is mortal. Now conclusion I have given only from the information that was given to me, all men are mortal. In India particularly, we can find examples of people living for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we can say those men are immortal. So there is an exception always available. These kinds of instances come in inductive reasoning. Deduction is when you conclude something from the information already provided. Induction is you take some examples and conclude on a bigger scale. You generalize. So for example, to understand what is inductive reasoning, and that's why we can say that facts cannot be 100% true all the time. It is a certain opinion, in the sense that humans only can see that, no? Which other eye, which other mind can observe that? So in inductive reasoning, let's say all of us have seen crows. I've seen hundreds or thousands of crows in my life. All were black. Rather, I have seen one white crow also, interestingly. Anyway, most of us have seen crows which are black, right? I have seen 1,000, Rahul have seen 1,000, ma'am has seen 1,000, and there'll be many here. All of us have seen 1,000 and lakhs of crows. So we conclude that all crows are black, right? This is an inductive conclusion. See, from certain instances, we are saying all. In inductive, we were talking about one person, Almozo. Particular we were talking about. In inductive, we talk about general. So we are saying all crows are black. But, even if there is one crow which is found which is not black, our conclusion will become false. So in science, in logic also, this is an accepted. Inductive and deductive reasoning problems are known to all scientists, that we can never say something is 100% true, because we have not tested every crow. We have not seen all the crows. So to be intellectual, to have intellectual integrity, we should accept that we know till 99%. We can say all mammals have heart, all of them. But if there is one found which we have not found till now, which does not have a heart, then the whole conclusion will become false. So we have to leave that 1% always, so that we can move forward from there. We don't get stuck on one fact, that this is the fact. You understand? And science means that we have to move forward, keep finding new things. So things can have this aspect, but still they are the scientific aspects, economic, social, scientific aspects. Facts are much stronger facts, because they are based on reasons. They are based on evidence and data. So that way they are good facts. But this is a philosophical question. We can problematize it much more if you want. Okay. What are the other questions have come?
Yeah, of course.
Do internal emotions lead to a better moral sense, and how will this affect logical reasoning? See, now what I have done is I have contrasted emotions with reasoning. So the idea that is coming out from what I have talked is emotions may not necessarily help you to be reasonable, because emotions have a way of swaying us from the fact. If we are angry, for example, we are not seeing, we are in a fit of anger, we don't see what is around us, isn't it? So the discriminating capacity that we have, in Sanskrit we call it this viveka, right? Viveka means separating right from wrong. So this reasoning capacities, intellectual capacities, if you are, let's say, distressed or depressed students, will you be able to study your subject? Not necessarily. That emotion has to be used in the right direction. You should have a hunger, like some people have a hunger for knowledge. So they may use that information, but still they have to be reasonable. They should not exhaust themselves. That now people, they have a competition of reading books. I see online. Everyone tries to tell how many books they have read. So this is an emotion of reading more and more. But what about the digestion of that information? So you have to leave your emotions of being knowledgeable aside. So emotions can work both ways. You can use emotions if you are reasonable. See, this is again, we are applying rationality here. Just see. We are picking up emotions and using it for our benefit because we know that emotions can affect us negatively. Somebody can slap us and throw us off our rockers of giving exam next day. Distress us, and then we won't be able to study. Or if something happens in close to us, in our family or friends, then we get affected emotionally. We can't function normally. To be rational, you have to have a very clean brain, not affected by emotions, not affected by some kind of desires. All these are emotions. Envy, jealousy, all these can make you take irrational decisions. Like in drug addicts, we see drug addicts, if they become addicted, they just can't reason what they should do. They can start stealing, even if a person comes from a very good place economically. Once they become addicted, they lose their reasoning capacities. So they can commit crimes, they can commit many things which nobody thought they could. So they are losing their rationality because of their emotions. Now their body has become affected in a certain manner. So it can affect both ways, but I think reasoning has to have the reins of emotions in their hand. You have to control the emotions with the reins of reasoning. Then you can use it to your benefit. Yeah. So this is for that. Anshi Pandey. When we put human behavior with rationality, can we still believe that group rationality will be best manner to decide whether the behavior of the individual is rational? Yes. I'm not saying answer yes to this question, but this is the same problem which I pointed out in individualism and holism. Whether the group is ideal to decide for the individual, or whether the individual is ideal for deciding for the group. Whether Gokhale Institute should decide what is best for all the students, which it does, which it must, because it has authority, it has been there for so long. But still students also have to inform Gokhale Institute that what is best for us. So this problem of social and individual, it's very difficult problems. Try to search some literature on these two topics. You will get so confused. Scientists are also. It depends on our approach, whether we take the individual as more important or whether we take the social as more important. Depending on that, it will decide. We can decide what rationale we have to take, whether we have to take the rationale of the social, because social can also become imposing, dominating, exploiting, discriminating in many cases. We have seen in history many times this has happened. In Germany, we have seen the social became so, and it ended up affecting all the people. See, that group mentality psychology they teach, that crowd behavior took over all the people. So social can negatively affect. This should not be forgotten. Similarly, one individual affected the whole social. See, created a system like that, slowly, that there were spies living in Germany. Even in your general life, you can't criticize Hitler. If you did, somebody will inform on you. So that is the problem here. It's a complicated question. When we put human behavior with rationality, can we still believe that? So hard scientists don't do that. Even your social scientists who are doing economics, etc., they try to keep human behavior separate, because that's when we can get objective information. The human can lie also, no? That's the problem. You can ask somebody that how happy you are. We only don't know how happy we are. How will we inform? That's why we can't find an happiness index. It can only be accurate to some particular extent and applying to very limited people. So the idea is to be as objective as we can, try to separate human behavior Even researchers on human behavior try to do that, minimize the effect of human behavior and find out objectively what is that psychological structure that we are operating in. So it's a complicated question, but in academics and science, at least we try to be objective. Objective implies a general, more universal conclusion, which can apply to more people. That's when it becomes knowledge. Your personal information is not necessarily important for everyone. It should be a common information. Okay. Because making a group biased is extremely easy, and if there is a chance to put bias in the top, can we count on that? So I think before reading only this point had come that group can make you biased, but we also have to understand group has a influence, right? Because if the group is of rationalists, like how all of us have gathered here, if we all are most of us are rational, then our effect also will be rational, no? All our university and Vidyapeeth that we go, different kinds of university, they are institutes of rationality, education. Education implies rationality. Certain logical way we study all the subjects. Not mixed like a library example I gave that all the books are just dumped somewhere. It's not like that. University has a rationale. So institute can be a boon. I think in democratic countries, how we are living, it is a boon, right? All of us benefit from that. But then we as that individual responsibility will decide how the institution will work. Now this answer will depend on whether you consider the individual primary or you consider the social primary. You should contemplate this answer, because I don't know the answer really, which is primary. You have to think about it and decide whether you are the institution or institution is you. That is the question. Who affects the other more? Okay. Anshi Pandey. So this is open queue. I should open or?
Yeah, absolutely. Anshi, you can unmute yourself.
Excuse me, sir. So regarding the question that I had asked, are there schools in philosophy that either take the individual as the primary subject or the society as the primary subject? Are there two different schools in
Yes,
philosophy?
definitely. Yes. So even in the history, if you read, I'm not remembering the name, but Emily Durkheim is one philosopher. He's a philosopher of social science, because all social sciences depend on this basis. One is Emily Durkheim and another is I can find out their name and I can tell you. These two there are many actually, but these are father figures. Emily Durkheim and one more is there. These two started this idea of social science, because what they were trying when there was a scientific revolution in the West. This is another problem. We have to always talk about the West. In Indian context, we don't have so much material. We are not working here so much on this. So this is my personal thing I have just added here. But anyway, what we study is, because now we are doing most of the education in English, so our texts and all is not available to us. Though there is a lot of work in Indian literature about this. So when the scientific industrial revolution, science and renaissance was happening now, post World War II and all, so what they tried to do is, because social science was not getting a good hold, so then philosophers started analyzing that how we can make social sciences at par with scientific knowledge, that what is being said will hold all the time. Like how we tell that there will be a Surya Grahan, what do you call that? What do you call Surya Grahan in English?
Solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse. Yes, I'm sorry. So if through science we can find out that there will be a solar eclipse after 10 days, right? And it will exactly happen in that same time at the same spot, and it will tell, scientists will tell everything. But let's say if this same thing is not possible in political science. If it was possible, then whoever has the right means and right theory, they will control any government they want. But because human subjects are involved, what we are talking about human subjects, see, even animal subjects, if there is a ball, like how physicians do, physical scientists do, that they tell you, okay, if you throw the ball with certain projection, it will land here and here depending on its mass. And it will roll so much, it will have so much speed. But if there is a dog, and you you want to shoo away the dog, how that dog will react, where it will turn and run, can anyone clearly tell 100% with 100% accuracy? No. So this is the problem with, that's why I said that social sciences have not reached that stage of certainty that natural sciences have, hard sciences have, because they are totally empirical. We are dealing with human minds in social sciences. So, and economic behavior, now see, very interestingly, ethical decisions are being taken based on economic concerns, isn't it? So if certain forests have to be cut or not, it depends on how much money can be saved by cutting that forest, and can we replace that forest somewhere. So an ethical decision, which is a bioethical decision, we can decide based on economic concerns. So economics is, it's like, a midway between, social sciences are a midway between science and philosophy and these normative sciences that I was telling you. Logic is a normative science in that sense, it's norms. So rationality is still basic, right? Metaphysics is another subject in philosophy which is still more basic. It talks about things which are beyond physical, meta, transcending physical. So this will be your answer, Anshi.
We have a question in the chat box. Yash, would you want to ask a question, or how?
Okay, how do you, is Yash coming online?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, so like you said, if a person is not rational, how much ever you explain him, he won't understand it.
Yes.
So many times people come and ask the same question over and over.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that person? Because you can't just shoo him off. He might
Yes.
be a friend or relative.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with with that person?
Yeah. See, technically, the matter is simple. That you find out what is that person's conclusion. What is that person is trying to achieve by coming back to you with the same question again and again. Maybe they want to prove something to you, right? That what they know is true, let's say. They know something which is truer, and they want to convey that to you because they think you are wrong. So you first have to identify their conclusions. Irrational person, first of all, there is no necessary way to deal with an irrational person, because irrationality can go anywhere. Like we said in the beginning, somebody can go to a funeral and behave in certain strange manner. So in society, an irrational person can be dangerous. Psychopaths, which we know, they are totally irrational people. They can be very intelligent, they can use logic, but still they don't have that rationality, social rationality. Anyway, so you have to find out the conclusion of that irrational person, and then how he has reached that conclusion. They would have, or she would have, had certain premises to reach that conclusion, no? Like I've said, like how we said that example, that this mango shop is the best, this person sells the best mango. Somebody comes to you and just convinces you again and again, shopwallas do that, this phone is the best phone for you. So you have to ask them why. What are the reasons? On what rationale have you done that? So a person can still be logical, but if their conclusions are understood, their premises are understood for what, or based on which they have made their conclusion, if those premises are shaken, they may say that I brought this box sometime and it was the best box, and that's why I'm saying this shop is the best shop. So you can point out that, see, you have just once used those mangoes, and it may not necessarily be true that what I get will be the same, because the crop keeps changing, the harvest keeps changing. That person may say, no, my family also got it. You may say, okay, fine. Then you can point out that, see, my friend bought mangoes from that same place and they were not sweet. So you have given a counter argument. Now, in his premises, you have put a negative premise which falsifies the conclusion. So if you want to go in a structured manner, this is the way. And the best way to deal with the irrational person, you try once, twice, then you just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Any other question? Anyone?
I have
Okay.
a slightly lengthy question. I'm not sure if it makes sense or not. I'm not sure. I joined late also, so I'm not sure if it's already
These are
been covered.
please go on.
So all of us, we tend to judge a person's actions as being good or otherwise on the basis of whether we like the person or not. And a very relatable example in India right now is if you're a Prime Minister Modi supporter, then his actions are going to be deemed to be good because we like the person. And if you're a Prime Minister Modi detractor, then by definition, almost everything he does is deemed to be bad because we don't like the person. But it's not an objective analysis of the action. It is of emotional reaction to the person.
Yeah.
If this is true, and I've struggled with this for years, then why do you think Plato put intellect as the charioteer? It doesn't make sense. To me, reason comes secondary to emotion. And that's something that we see all around us. Then what was Plato getting at?
Right. Very interesting. You say that emotions come before reason. So I also, because as I said, information is not complete, it's justified true belief. So we can approach the problem also through this sense that emotions are much more basic to us. And that's how the businesses can influence us in buying their products. Anybody can manipulate us based on if they understand which kind of emotional person we are, what appeals to our emotions.
Right.
So that's why we need more education on rationality. That is the whole point. I just jumped on this topic. That once we are rational, like one person asked this question now, Adya asked this question that whether emotions will lead. So my answer is that if the reins should be in the hand of reason, because negative emotions also can affect us much stronger.
Right.
The impact is much stronger. So if we are reasonable enough, then we will be in a better position to come out of those emotional situations. So one aspect is that, and another part I wanted to tell you is that regarding Plato, as you spoke about, that reasoning, when we do any kind of reasoning, okay, let me formulate my answer. Somebody had come. Can I give you that answer in 5 more minutes? 5-10 minutes, maybe later.
All the time, absolutely.
Yes. Let me think over that. Okay.
I had a perspective on what Ashish sir says.
The
reason why emotion takes primacy, and this is how I have understood it, emotion takes primacy over thought is because the limbic system, which controls emotion, is evolutionary older than the prefrontal cortex, which actually regulates your thought. And prefrontal cortex also takes more energy than the limbic system. So the limbic system at times decides for itself, and then reroutes actions to the prefrontal cortex. That's why I think emotion is primacy over reason. And that's also the reason why when you're emotional, you can't think rationally, because it will also consume even more energy. There's your emotional reaction, and then there is a rational response to that. That's why when you're emotional, when you're excited, when you're angry, when you're aroused, you tend to make irrational decisions.
Right. See, but the problem here is that we are saying emotion is primary, fine, but the point is of making right judgments. So if I get emotional that I want to become the prime minister, I just I'm hell bent now. Okay, I will become no matter what. But if I cannot, then certain circumstances may not allow me. So I have to take that under consideration as a rational being. I can't waste my life on something which may not come to pass. This is also known to me, but emotions doesn't take all this under consideration. That's why intellect is a higher faculty. Kids don't have that so much as developed as us. Animals don't have that. Once we cross 18, then we have rationality to even vote, to understand who our leaders could be. And because we have fallen into this trap of emotions, and everything can be done, I don't know, I don't want to criticize economics right now in sitting in between economists, but
we do it all the time.
Yeah, feel free.
yeah, so everything, when it becomes money oriented, like earlier our education used to be different, the issues which are of service like education cannot be so much associated with business. Like some institute I've seen, they clearly tell, we are here to make money, and this appeals to people also, many people. So when I heard this first time from a faculty, I was so taken aback that where have I come here? Well, this is the point, because this is and anyways, philosophers can't talk about money because you know what is the condition of philosophy department. So we are bad at economics, really bad. So we can't be emotional. See, we are not emotional. We are reasonable, and to make somebody understand when the decisions are very important. As Shashank is saying, so your thing may be biologically correct, but in judgment making, decision making, you have to decide what is primary. If you think emotions are primary, then tomorrow I may decide that I want to go to Harvard and lecture there. Nobody can stop me. This is my emotional feeling. Then this is something very irrational. Nobody will agree with that, and it can't come to pass. I can waste my life trying to do that. I can rationally work towards it, is a different matter. But emotionally, if I've decided something which is not under my control, that I want to fly,
Of course.
emotionally I may want to fly, I may want to control, we become jealous, these emotions overpower us. So decision making, judgments can't be done. Academic activity cannot be done with emotions.
So that's exactly my point. Emotions are not primary in the sense that we should rely on emotions to make decisions, but through the prefrontal cortex way is more energy consuming, and we need to do, and we are not evolutionary so developed to go first to thought and then to emotion. So we first give our emotion a chance and then we fall back on thought. Though yes, their intellect is important because, as you say, Vivek, without Vivek, you cannot distinguish between what you want to.
Yes.
So it's probably a conscious effort on our part all through our life to rein in your first emotional instinct, think first and then react. Like even what we sort of preach, right? That's what.
Thinking.
Yeah, or even that's what you tell kids also, right? I mean, don't go on your first instinct, or don't always rely on your first emotion, or.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a organization of knowledge, like how we talked about library. It's something we develop, because as a kid, like when we went to the fire first, or some bug which can bite, so we did not have that information, and neither the experience.
Yeah.
Once we touch the fire, that heat comes, and the emotion also is there of fear and some kind of burning sensation. Our brain organizes that knowledge. And similarly, few times it happens, then their conclusion comes that because this has happened, see, this is all rationality only. That because this has happened in my childhood, because again this same thing had happened, because this is hot and I don't like that, then I conclude that better not touch, put my hand in the fire. This is rationality. So it can work in consonance, emotions and rationality. But for that we need a good, developed skill set of logic and rationality. Then only you can have some, sway over your emotions. You can decide which products to buy in today's context. If not, then an emotional person, you can just, it's very easy to, what do you call that online these days? Outrage.
Oh yeah.
Outrage. We don't say response and reaction, we say outrage. So YouTube, you see now, thumbnails we make, so you have to make provocative thumbnails.
Yeah.
You have to put the topic, you are saying something, you have to say otherwise in the thumbnail, because people are so, attention span is so less, reasoning is so immediate. It's not, reasoning also means that you have a long chain of, that's why we are academicians, we can write long papers of logical connected reasoning. Our reasoning now with social media, it's become 1 minute video also could feel long sometimes. So you have to outrage the person, isn't it? So the more you outrage, like false information, there is a research like that. Now, fake information travels much more faster than true information. So this all points to how we are dealing with our present circumstances around the world and how social media is affecting. There's a lot of research also on that, how economics works also of that. So this is the situation. So I would like to ask, I recall Ashish sir's question. He was talking about that Plato and all. So ma'am told me a very interesting point in the beginning, that in economics we begin with rationality, then man is a rational animal, right? So this is, I'm asking a question, okay? Am I allowed to ask a question?
Of course.
So because we are having a dialogue.
Right.
Yeah. So ma'am said that we begin with this, that man is a rational animal, right? Our Aristotle also said that, because he was a philosopher. He said man is a rational animal. Similarly, sociologists say that man is a social animal.
Mhm.
Fine, whoever wants, they decide like that.
Mhm.
But are we really rational? That is the question. Can we say, conclude or judge that man is a rational animal?
My answer?
Yes, please. Anyone who can.
My answer is the best that you can do is you can say man ought to be a rational animal. But if you go further back and ask where does that ought to come from, that normative aspect,
Yeah.
whether that itself is guided by emotion or reason, I have never been able to answer.
Yeah.
Also, okay, I know I'm not answering your question here, but can one say that rationality is also in a way subjective?
I
mean,
think so, yeah.
Because there's no one hard truth. I mean, that's what you touched upon, in the beginning when you were talking about it, right? Because like, if facts and knowledge and truth, everything is based on what we as a society believe to be true, then on the basis of that, we're defining a rational being.
Normative sciences, yes. Norms, we define the norms.
No, exactly, yeah. I mean, all of us agree that at the funeral, one shouldn't dance and laugh. But that's because we agree that that's how one should show one's emotion.
Yes.
At a particular place, to show the right emotion is to be silent and to cry or to mourn or whatever, because that's what we've all agreed is the right way to emote or behave. Then that's always a conflict for me. Like so whenever we start with the assumption for any model, right, we just make the assumption that, okay, assuming everyone is going to assume rationally, blah 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 blah. But if you come to the question, then what is rationality in itself is, I could behave in a certain way and say I'm being rational, and you could behave in another way and you could still think you're being rational. So
right.
I don't know.
That's why I defined that initially, that in logic, when we study, logic is a form. Logic is not content. Content is this mango, mobile phone, decision making, etc. Because the form we have identified such, Aristotle did the work there first in Western philosophy, logic, and in India we had school of Nyaya philosophy. If you read that, your brain will become chopped in pieces. Like, they do hair splitting logic. It's so terse, and so they have identified structures, and these structures are not based on norms, in the sense that when you know that wherever there is a fire, some smoke will come out of it, and if you see some smoke in the distance, then because of that information that you have logically connected. I know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Now I see somewhere smoke is there, so I derive that information. I have not seen fire. I had seen fire and smoke earlier. Now even that is this is an example from our Shastras, Upanishadic commentaries, Shankara and all give, na, Adi Shankara. Now this example has become false because there are smoke machines. So wherever there is smoke, there is not necessarily fire. It's fine, but it's being used as an example that what ma'am is saying, we can decide. See, agreement is not only verbal. Agreement also has an emotion attached to it, that there is a loss. Some Mahatmas have been there, like our Osho Rajneesh was there. He said, when I go, you celebrate. So we can come up something like that, but still people celebrate it with sadness, because we don't want to lose what we have. That's our common tendency. So it's not about agreement. I may agree with you that it's a sad happening that somebody went away, but doesn't mean I may feel sad about it. But I can agree and come to you and meet you, whatever is the proper way. I may not provoke you, enraged you like, what is there, don't worry about it. Because this happened with me when I came new into philosophy. I became too philosophical. Initially we get like that, the new ideas, you just can't hold yourself back. So something like that happened, and that person's family, my friend was there with me. In their family something happened, so I told them, see, who had to go went, why do you worry? And after I said that, I didn't realize that time, because I was reading something, and but then that person later explained to me that it was very hurt. It hurt them. So then I realized that no, maybe it's not necessarily like that. Things are not. Philosophy is not like reality. Reality is something else. Theory is something else. Economics is still something else. And whatever we all decide together, like sir said that there is only two, it's become binary logic. That is another problem. This Western logic is now binary. Either you are this or you are not this. Either you are with me or you are not with me. So this is a very poor intellectual position. There are so many stages in between. We, in our homes only, we don't eat similar things. We all like different things. So it implies a kind of intellectual degeneration, probably, which it's our responsibility, probably our teachers, to come out of that. I don't know. I hope I'm not talking too much.
Not at all. Not at all.
Anshi.
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, ma'am, building on what you said about the subjectivity of rationality, in fact, even in the subjects that we study, we choose certain aspects of what we deem to be rational. I mean, that is why the whole topic even comes up, that can a group decide what is rational against an individual's behavior? So when you say that this is a rational consumer, your first assumption is ki, okay, they are going to want to maximize for their utility. That's an assumption. That's something that you chose as a parameter for the rationality of a person. That in itself says ki how extremely subjective we are treating rationality in the first place. And moreover, so if you're even going to go by the funeral example, it's how much of a group behavior impacts this topic is that there are people who would say that we choose to have a cheerful funeral. We do not want the people that we leave behind to feel sad. So an after party after the funeral. There have been funerals like this. This will not be considered a rational behavior by the outside group, but by the inside group of that place, they will consider this the rational behavior, that this is what the choice of the person who died was. So that really speaks of how subjective rationality, I mean, how subjective we choose rationality to be.
Yeah. See, one point that's coming to my mind after what Anshi said, and even ma'am's point that we agree that how funerals should be. So we all have to come on the common grounds of what are our axioms, premises. Because in ethics also, if you have to decide what is right and wrong, like religious people usually ask this question. They're worried about what will happen after death. Some religions particularly focus on that. Ticket to heaven. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or something, but this is what the theory is, that you do this in this world, and next world you will get something which you want, you will get everything. So what are our axioms? Either do we want to live in this world, or are we living in certain utopia that this will come, that will come? So similarly, somebody can say, celebrate my death. But we can't say that if that person has, Osho had, for example, millions of followers, can we really say all of them celebrated? Not even a single one felt sad? It can't be. So we have to decide our premises, that what do we want? Based on that, we can only decide what is right and wrong. If we value our family's life, we will all follow signals. If we don't follow, because if you break signals, then other will also break signals. Today somebody hits one person, tomorrow it could be person known to you. So this is a rationale, that we all give up our rights to enjoy more rights together, whether you want to live in the society or not. So these axioms should be decided. What do we want really? If we decided that, like how we came on a common ground, that what is rationality? If we both are describing two dogs, we can never come to a common ground. You have a different dog, mine is a different dog, both eat different things, both want different temperature, their furs are different, shampoo is different, their behavior is different. We are saying dog, but what is the point? So come on the common ground, then decide whether celebration is okay, or even if we decided somebody did something else is fine, as long as they are not insane. An insane person can't be left in the society, because they will, anything they can decide, they have no logic. So they can, from any fact, they can reach to any other fact, right? Like psychopaths reach facts, that conclusions that I should, harm somebody for certain reasons. That's very dangerous. So in a common society, we can't do certain common things we all know, which we are, like general aspect is, whatever we don't want for ourselves, we don't want for the others. Simple. Let's begin there. What kind of country we want? All of us want a clean country, right? Is there anyone here who doesn't want a clean country? So let's keep it clean then. What is the problem here? So some simple basic things only we are not doing, and we are talking about emotions and rationality. That's like really far away. From cars and different, in university border, I see people stopping and, relieving themselves. Pune University. It totally breaks your heart. Cars and rickshaws and everyone will stop there. Clean spot they will search. They want a clean spot to make it dirty. So this all we have to decide. Once we are on the common grounds, then I think it's much easier to talk things which we all agree with. Are there any book coming to your recommendation from the course of this, especially on the topic of individual versus society? Yeah, there are many books actually. So I can check some titles and let Rahul know, or Ashish sir also. I think I have his contact and mail.
Yeah, sure. You can. Yeah, you could just send us across a reading list that you could recommend, and then we'll circulate it to everyone.
Yes, but if you just search individualism and holism, these topics are really hot topics in social sciences, because social scientists and scientists keep fighting with each other. What is this science or not? Social sciences are always pushed out of the main science stream for obvious reasons, of course, because we don't fit into their methodology. And our conclusion, if it became true, then we will improve our economy, without doubt, isn't it? If economics was like science, we will have 100% result. We will 100% control our problems. Politically, we will just control the whole world if we had 100% accurate social scientific theory. So that problem of induction comes here. 100% certainty, not possible.
Absolutely. Great. So anyone else? Any questions?
So Ashish sir, I asked you a question also. Any student would like to give this answer? Or whether we are rational creatures or not? whether what they think according to them, humans are they rational or are they? Because this is like a part of my research also. So I collecting opinions is fun, because generally what I found, people think humans are rational, but the effect that we are seeing in the world, would you say the effect that we are causing on the environment and the oceans and the animals, how we're treating the animals, it's really grim. So is this behavior of a rational creatures? And then if it is, then what is rationality? You have to redefine rationality, because scientifically it's not big, it doesn't fit that rational definition. Yes, Rahul.
So
I
how
don't
I
think
understand.
humans are
Okay, go ahead, Rahul.
okay. I don't think humans are rational. I think that's the best way to put it, personally. And
Okay.
I mean, another good example for that is, again, the climate change issues that we face right now. I mean, we think we are acting for our own benefit, but then if you look at the bigger picture, you're still not looking at a way in which we can sustain our, human beings over the next couple of centuries.
Yeah.
So that's my argument towards rationality. I don't
Yes.
think we are rational.
Okay, interesting.
So how I understand this is in terms of having a logical structure and being able to deduce. Yes, we all have that capacity. We all have agency, but what happens is there are limitations to our perception. So things and what things are like, there is something between that which affects our decisions. And second thing is, we are bombed with perceptions right now. So right now I am looking at the screen and I have 3 people telling me things, and after this I'll perhaps look up YouTube and then go to Twitter and see what people have to say about things. So in a sense that we have the synthesis bit of rationality, where we have multiple ideas and we synthesize those into a cohesive conclusion, that has become more complex in a sense, because we have a lot more ideas to process, and as a result, and us being lazy beings, we have outsourced some bit of that synthesis bit. So we want people to synthesize ideas for us and then feed them to us so that we can consume them readily. I think so. It's a problem of information overload. I mean, how I understand this is as an evolutionary problem. So in last 50 years, our information processing capacities have improved way faster than we are evolutionarily suited to process.
Yes.
And that information overload is a burden on our synthesizing capacity in part of the rationality. So I think there comes the limit to rationality.
Okay. So this is, I would say, this is what you've done is called rationalization. You know that वो बोलते ना कि अंगूर नहीं मिला तो अंगूर खट्टा है शायद उस टाइप का. So post when you rationalize, see information you are saying, still they say that from all the information available with us in the world, we have only certain percentage, very less percentage of it online. And Indian scriptures, if you see Indian philosophy, your mind will go nuts. There is so much literature. Our literature is what, 3,000 years old. So there is one book, on that there is a commentary, on that there is a commentary on the commentary, then there is a commentary on the commentary on the commentary, then there is also a commentary on the commentary on the commentary. So information is there. Processing is, see, even with the information age now, you are saying everyone has so much information, then why can't we keep our country clean? Everyone knows, no? Everyone knows should not break, say, 6 feet. This 6 feet distance problem, I am just surprised. Nobody understands this 6 feet distance. All of you would have seen, I feel. 6 feet is like, they don't know that distance. What is that 6 feet distance? Because we have that habit of coming very close to each other all the time. So information is there. What kind of process we require? So I don't have an answer of whether we are rational or not. I am taking both your sides because I have points on both the sides. We are emotional creatures also, or otherwise whatever, intuitive creature. but we are using rationale to explain our points also. This also we have to understand. Without this organizing rationality, we won't be able to talk to each other also. So this point of having information overload, this overload has been always there. Who seek information get. Every time this is the case. So this can't be a reason of us being irrational, that suddenly there is so much information and we have become irrational. We have reached here from a history only, na? We are not separate from our past. I don't know if this makes sense.
So, I mean, how I would argue with that is, though there are extensive scriptures, but only those people who are trained with making sense of those scriptures and synthesizing what the person before. So there's a chain of people commenting on each other's works. So there is some person who is trained in that art of synthesizing so much volume of information. And here you have everyone has a smartphone, right? And not all people are trained to synthesize so much information at once.
Right.
So I'm not saying that we are irrational beings. We are rational beings, but there are limits to our rationality, and the information overload that is happening right now, it defies the limits of how much we can synthesize at once.
So I'll just drive an implication of what argument you gave right now. That earlier we needed specialization to synthesize those books, scriptures, right? And now those are given to us in bits and pieces, and many bits and pieces. So you are saying rather than simplifying it, it has further made us irrational. More information, simpler information, easily available information is making us irrational.
No, it's not making us irrational. We are unable to synthesize this volume of information. So if I take one topic at once and sit for a month with the same topic, I'll have a better and well-informed synthesis than someone who just ran through it for a second and 3 seconds, 5 seconds.
Right. No, I understood your point. And because there is so much different versions now available to us, we are in a better position actually. I think this information it should make us more rational, because we can find out what we want. Earlier now, when we did our 11th, 12th, there was something called arts. I didn't even know later until I came to Pune and started studying in colleges. So that information was not there with me. Now I feel everyone should know that information, that you can do arts and science in the beginning itself. So it should help rather than hinder. Now we are trying to make it all hindrance. Social media, we have made it an hindrance. It's a boon. We can share and talk like this, how we are talking. See, sitting at our homes, and we are constantly saying this is a problem. Who is creating that problem? You are using social media, not somebody else. We are only using social media. So how we use it, we have to find it in ourselves, like the first point of rationality. First decide what you want. What are your common axioms? What is that you're looking for? If you can't decide that, then you are directionless. Anywhere your direction can go. Like a irrational person can go in any direction from anywhere. Start for Hyderabad and go to wherever, Belgaum or Bangalore. So irrational, it doesn't matter. So later we are rationalizing now that the effect that we are seeing are bad. We are saying because we can't process. If it was good, you would have said great, because whoever are reaping benefits, they are saying it's great. The IT companies are saying this information is great. Yeah.
So we shouldn't seek a binary answer, perhaps, to whether
definitely
or not rational.
Yes. Our logic, that's what that point got lost. Ashish sir was saying that we have binary logic, but in India we have now different kinds of logics are coming. It's not necessary that there is only black and white. There are many ways a situation can be done, and that's why AI is not becoming possible. If logic was just black and white, they would have put 0 and 1 and computer would have become intelligent. It's not like that. Intelligence is not that. Information processing is not black and white. And we have to understand that. And until we understand that, computer, though we don't know whether it can have that consciousness or not. We will see with time. But that gray part that we also don't know clearly. That gray part is where all this fun lies.
Wow.
Lot to think about. Great. All right. So if we don't have any further questions, Ashish sir,
No, I mean, I have tons of them, but
for today.
but really,
All right. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I mean, it was brilliant, and as you can see, we have an enthu crowd with us. So, I mean, I guess if on public demand, we can have another session where probably we come back with questions, or we read and we come back, and we can have an extended session about this. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for today, and I'm sure the kids have a lot to think and read and assimilate. But
yes, we are meeting now. Day after also we are meeting.
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes. So there we'll have
Great.
continue this conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you for inviting me. It was great, really. And the best part is, students called me, and I feel most happy when that happens. Somebody comes to you without a reason, then you can really talk. Then outrage them.
True.
So thank you very much. I enjoyed it a lot, and I have interacted with economics students before in Ferguson College. I know how they think. I used to teach them logic, and they used to trouble me. Trouble in the sense, ask a lot of questions. So I knew what I'm getting into, and I think I made the right decision coming here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you on Saturday then.
Okay, see you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.